Chapter 81. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 81. The love of two parents and Aquarina's resolve. My parents woke me up as they asked me something important. What were my powers? Of course, they would eventually ask me that question. I had somehow survived being torn to shreds and I was hanging on just fine. It was also abnormal how much mana I had, to the point it never ran out through the entire fight. Even Aquarina, who was calculated to have a mana value of over 10 million, didn't have as much as me. From their perspective, it seemed as if mana was simply created out of my very existence. It was even more intriguing to my parents how I died, but I didn't. Sure, they were thankful of it. They were very thankful that I had not died, calling it a miracle of my own powers. However, they also seemed fearful that I had become something like an undead of sorts, perhaps. But what really am I? I can't possibly tell them I have the miraculous system that's glitched and had my status fixed, which also made it so that my mana and health never ran out. The power of having a fixed mana value that never went down ended up giving me the ability to continuously use mana without any problems. In other words, I had infinite mana. It never ran low. Meanwhile, the fixed health value was just as I had expected to be, if not even more crazy than I previously thought. It allowed my soul to stay in my body no matter how damaged I was, at the same time keeping me conscious. This power by itself was dangerous and terrifying. I could be burned alive by flames and still walk around with flames all over my body just fine. I could be torn apart into pieces and still be kicking. I could even have a sword in the heart and still walk it off like it was nothing. Perhaps I could even extract all my internal organs and still live, though that might be very uncomfortable at that point. Of course, I can still be immobilized. My body can get torn apart and I'll end up without any ability to do anything. I could even get my head chopped off and lose consciousness. Or have my head turn into chunks. Ugh. Despite having such a power, it's not omnipotent. Plus, I don't seem to have supernatural regeneration like a being with such an ability would be expected to have. Due to this, I cannot regenerate myself. On top of that, my magic doesn't seem to work. I need to learn higher tiers of healing spells, but those require my magic circle to increase in tiers as well. Which means that it's still very dangerous, with the chance of me being incapacitated very high. But can I really tell them all of this? No, I can't. I can't just tell them about the god I met or whatever. I have to act oblivious and simply treat it as a power I had discovered. After all, that would be for the better. I don't know. I just didn't seem to be able to die. My soul seemed to stick to my corpse, I told them. That's, my father muttered. Is such a power even possible? Ah, well, we saw it, said my mother. I don't know how it happened, but that's how it is. Sorry, I continued with a sigh. I couldn't tell them about the system, nor that I was reincarnated. Oh, no. You don't have to be sorry, dear, mother said in response. However, this is still very strange, although this world is vast and there are people with myriad of strange and bizarre abilities. I had never seen something so strange as a soul stuck into the body of something destroyed. Ugh, but this is so gruesome to think about that I feel like not researching about this, even less if it would involve annoying you now that you're recovering after that battle. Indeed, this miraculous power. Maybe it was gifted to you by the gods through their blessing. Such a wonderful ability helped you protect Aquarina. Even if it was at the expense of your own body, my father said with a sigh. After that, he hugged me tightly, resisting tears from flowing. Perhaps having seen my body all torn apart had left a big trauma in my father. Then again, nobody can get over seeing their own child being completely disfigured on the ground that easily. Yeah. I'm just thankful you're alive, no matter what this power is. We'll help you understand it, and we'll get through it together, mother told me sometime later. My mother seemed intrigued and perhaps my father as well. Although my mother was the more intelligent of the two while my father was more of a muscle head, so I guess she was more concerned in the regards of the power's origins than my father. I suppose they might want to question me more, but their love as parents surpassed that, and they simply wanted me to see recover. I might one day tell them the truth, when I feel ready. I see. I'm glad I have you two with me. I told them. I simply let my parents hug me. Surprisingly, Aquarina ended up sneaking into the hug. I won't let this happen anymore. Auntie. Uncle. I'll get stronger so Sylph doesn't have to go through this for me anymore, Aquarina said with conviction. You're a strong girl, Aquarina. Don't mull over it for now, father told her in response. Indeed, your parents will be worried sick if they know you're working too hard, mother added. Yeah, Aquarina. Let's do it slowly, I told her. Okay, Aquarina nodded after that. She began to get all red due to the attention we were giving to her. I believe my parents saw her as someone precious as well. There are still a few things I want to know though. Who this being was. And the things he and the other entity spoke about, I said sometime later. Sure, we'll talk over it, father replied. We can do it slowly, dear. You don't have to ask everything right away, mother told me, reassuring me. I want to know something. I muttered. Something. This something was something Hell said. He told me that my parents, the heroes, had slaughtered thousands of demons. Among them, there were also children. He told me that they had slain thousands of children, and that it was completely justifiable for him to do the same against me. He even asked me if the life of a child like mine was comparable to the thousands my parents had slain in the past. Have my parents really done such an atrocity? Even now, I cannot help but have that thought linger in my mind. I wonder. What really are heroes? Are they really tasked with the task of killing all demons? I cannot help but think that there might be good demons now. After all, Leviathan helped us, despite having been formerly a demon general. He spoke with emotions and was very much the same as a person. Even Hell himself, who was an asshole for the most part, felt like one. I don't find his actions justified, but I still find that he had his own reasons. I'm pretty sure he harbored a lot of strong emotions and feelings, as if he had gone through his good share of emotional suffering as well. He seemed to resent my parents because of all the demons they killed, not for other selfish reasons. He simply wanted to avenge the people that died, didn't he? Well, it's not like it was still justified. I want to know from my parents' perspectives. What did they do in the war? Chapter 82. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 82. The human demon war. Aquarina's parents were present as well, though they were outside the house hunting around for the moment. However, when we moved downstairs, they were there, waiting. I'm glad you're well now, Sylph, Shade said with a charming smile. Now that I get a better look at him, he's actually very handsome. I can understand why Nephilim would fall for him. As we moved closer to them, he gently petted my head. Ah, little Sylphie. Aquarina's been missing you for a while, you know. It's so hard to calm this girl down when she's babbling about you all the time. Seriously, she can't stop thinking about you, said Nephilim soon after. Then, she suddenly held me with her strong arms and kissed my cheek. Mom, don't say that. Aquarina cried in response. Ha ha ha. What's wrong? You have to tell Sylph how important she is for you, or she'll never understand your feelings, dear. She seems like the oblivious type, Nephilim said with a chuckle. Ha! What is she even talking about? Oblivious. Me. I'm pretty good at picking up on things, so I'm not really oblivious. I know very well that Aquarina loves me like a sister, so that's why I'm precious to her. Of course, the feelings are mutual in that regard. Rumble. Suddenly, my stomach roared like a deadly beast, a monstrous bear of sorts. Ugh! I'm hungry. I sighed. Makes sense, you haven't eaten in over a week, Mother said in response. Let's prepare you a big feast, Sylph, said my father after that. I can't wait. At the end, my parents prepared a large amount of food. It was mostly a lot of grilled meat cut into strips, rice, boiled potatoes, fruit punch, and other stuff that was definitely scrumptious, to say the least. I ended up enjoying them a lot, but I still couldn't get that thought out of my head. For some reason, Aquarina seemed to be trying to distract me all the time, going so far as to even spoon feed me rice with meat curry and all sorts of other food. There were even desserts, all sorts of delicious pies, apple pie, pineapple pie, and so on. Hee hee, here's another bite of apple pie. Your favorite, Sylphie. Surprisingly, Aquarina wasn't getting sick of feeding me, moving a fork with a big piece of apple pie closer to my mouth. I couldn't help but feel like a baby while she did that, but I still took her invitation and ate the apple pie with a smile on my face. It's so good. I love the cinnamon, I said with a sigh, sipping on some tea. Aquarina's becoming very close with Sylph, my mother could not help but say. Indeed. What should we do about this, father wondered. What's so wrong with it? Aren't they like sisters, said Shade, not noticing the problem. Hearing that, Nephiline, my mother, and my father looked at Shade while raising an eyebrow. Right, you're the oblivious type. I almost forgot, mother said soon after. Shade uttered in confusion. Well, I don't think it's a bad thing. Let the girls be girls. They're still very little, so I don't think anything big will happen until they become teenagers. Nephiline said sometime later. I don't know what sexuality Sylph might develop, but it's quite clear at this point that Aquarina is, mother said. Yeah. Well, let's just let it be, father said with a sigh. Indeed, no point forcing anything. We aren't like this, mother added, effectively ending the conversation. What were they even talking about? Don't they know I can hear them? Maybe they think that because they're whispering, I won't hear them. Well, let's better leave it at that for now. I don't want to bother any more with this. At the end, I finally decided to ask them about what I heard from the demons. I was curious as to what they would respond to this. I was already someone that had matured mentally, after all. Even if I know what my parents had done, I don't think I'll stop loving them. But I still wanted to know. Of course, this was a very sensitive topic. Even Aquarina felt surprised and fell silent when I asked about the part regarding killing thousands of children. Unexpectedly, my parents and her parents suddenly fell silent as well, looking at each other after that. They knew this was a heavy topic to talk about, but we were already exposed to it, so there was no turning back. Ignoring the topic completely would only worsen the situation. With that, they had to quickly clear things up before more misunderstandings could be made. What we had done is indeed atrocious, father said in all honesty. Indeed. Mother nodded in response. They immediately began with a bomb. We admit it, said Shade soon after. Even if we had our reasons, it's still a sin, Nephiline added. What's a sin? Aquarina asked. However, hell wasn't completely right either. We didn't kill children. Instead, we took responsibility for it. Because it was our fault, we let that happen, father said, only to let out a long sigh soon after. His face grew with discomfort with each passing second. You let it happen? I asked. In the continent of Galadia, there are 4 major kingdoms, Sylph. Listen well. Among these 4 kingdoms, the strongest and biggest kingdom, and the most involved in the war against the demons several years ago, was the Holy Kingdom of Wei Zhen, mother started to explain. This kingdom also represents the gods and was the one that led the charge against the demons that invaded from overseas, crossing the sea and heading directly to the demon continent, Father continued. Those bastards are why we don't want to meddle anymore with other kingdoms and chose to live in isolation, Shade said his piece. In short, they were the ones that guided us at first. The ones that helped us the most. Nephilim told us. However, they were also the ones that hated demons the most. When we first started, we had to deal with large tides of demons rushing at us constantly. It wasn't easy, but it made us grow the resolve to help our people and save humanity. We've slain many lives. These demons. They weren't monsters, they were people like us. Simply put, they fought for their own goals, for the goals of their countries. To protect the world from us, Father said. But like any war, we had to fight to survive and protect our people. Even if it meant taking the lives of these soldiers, thousands of them. However, they were prepared for it. After all, soldiers were prepared to die, Mother added. As we defeated the generals, with them finally beginning to fall back, an all-out attack at the demon continent began. Chapter 83. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 83. A war between continents. Even though I was still 4 years old, I couldn't help but feel intrigue and curiosity about the war, including all the bloodshed and stuff that had happened there. Obviously, that wasn't something that parents should tell their children. However, I wanted to know the truth, or well, the truth regarding this. I knew that the information I would obtain might be too much, but my parents were willing to reveal such a truth to me because they loved me. I knew that I might be acting pushy, but I wanted to know. My parents and Aquarina's parents had given a brief introduction to what had happened back then, how they slayed the demon generals and pushed forward against the demon armies. With the help of the kingdoms from Galatia, or more specifically, the biggest one named the Weigen Kingdom, they were able to make the demons leave the continent. However, like any war, we had to fight to survive and protect our people. Even if it meant taking the lives of these soldiers, thousands of them. However, they were prepared for it. After all, soldiers are prepared to die, Mother said. As we defeated the generals, prompting the demon army to finally fall back, an all-out attack against the demon continent began, Father continued. At first, we really didn't think too hard about it. We thought it was the natural course of action. We now had to slay the demon king to end this constant struggle against the demon forces, but this also ended up making us go a bit too far, Mother said, sighing. The Holy Kingdom ended up pushing themselves too ahead of their own established boundaries. The fanatics from the Church of Gods showed off their true colors, while the aristocrats also began to show their true intentions, colluding with them who seek to conquer this new land for the extraction of resources like demonite, a highly magical material that only grows in the demon continent. Father narrated. The conquest was not only for the sake of bringing peace and saving humanity. It was also for the sake of making money and growing rich out of mining demonite. The aristocrats and the church colluded together and manipulated us, using our strength to destroy the demon fortresses, convincing us that it was the good thing to do to weaken the demon king's army, Mother said. I don't really want to say we were manipulated. At the end, we still did it willingly. I am at fault for all of this and more, Father said, seemingly ending the explanation. My mother patted his shoulder as she also seemed to be engulfed in sorrow. My mother, who always showed herself to be super serious and mature, was now filled with a certain sorrow I couldn't completely fathom. On the other hand, my father, who always showed himself to be a valiant and strong warrior, was also saddened, as if destroyed by remembering a past, a very traumatic past. We were foolish. We could have done something. We could have helped those people, but instead of that, we left the Kingdom Alliance and the Church to deal with the aftermath, Shade lamented with a sigh. Each time we defeated a fortress, many demon cities filled with people were left unprotected. They were all swallowed by the armies behind us as we continued our charge. At that time, I was filled with rage and the desire for revenge. Many of our companions had given their lives for the war at that point. I had lost many friends, even other heroes died while we battled the powerful demon generals. Nephilim said with a sigh. The loss of our companions drove us to the brink of insanity. Consumed by wrath and the desire to end this malicious war once and for all, we ended up charging recklessly without looking back. At the massacre that unfolded behind our backs, sponsored by ourselves, Father lamented with a long sigh. When we realized it. It was already too late, Mother murmured. What happened? I asked. Dot. 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 At my question, everyone fell silent. Aquarina suddenly grabbed my hand, tightly grasping it. She seemed concerned, worried about the answer. I knew what might have happened. Seeing how the aristocrats from the Kingdom Alliance desired the precious resources such as demonite from the demon continent, and how the Church of the Gods was so brainwashed and fanatical that they despised demons, going so far as to treat them no less than monsters. I can see what might have happened. I can see it clearly. I've already participated in battles before. I've participated in war, and had died myself. Although my previous life was short, I've also faced some of the most horrendous sides of human beings. That's what hell spoke about. The massacres, my mother said. The Kingdom Alliance and the Church used our names to slay all demons for the greater good. We were fine with slaying the demons that fought against us in the war, those soldiers willingly came to war to die the same way our soldiers did. That's how war worked, after all, Father added. But it wasn't fair to kill the citizens of those demon settlements. We thought that they would be taken care of in another way, not by being exterminated. At this point, Mother's eyes were brimming with tears. A bloodbath like we had never seen before. The number of innocent demon people killed couldn't even compare to the paltry number of demon soldiers we had slain. The population of civilians in the demon continent was surprisingly big. The demon king and the demon generals nourished them and taught them how to survive. Civilizations were being born there, people, children, families. They didn't participate in the war, but they were the thing our foes were protecting, the thing they risked their lives for. They were the reason why they charged forward against our continent beforehand to slay us so we wouldn't be a threat to the demon king, Father added, his voice slightly wavering. At the end, demons are not monsters like the humans love to talk about. They're people, the same people as us. They were born from the world and are said to be their children. They come in all shapes and sizes as they develop all sorts of appearances representing nature at its purest form. This is why they're often called monstrous as they possess even greater animalistic traits than beastkin. However, they're also even more connected to nature than elves, Mother said. Chapter 84 You are listening at novelfull.audio. 84 Unconditional Love. So, it was like that. Just as I had thought, the demon general and the demon armies were mostly dealt with by my parents, their heroic friends, and the armies assigned to them. On the other hand, they left behind the unprotected cities filled with people, the villages, and then. It was obvious that the humans would want to take down all of that, so there wouldn't be more chances for new demon kings to be born, even demon generals. With that in mind, they also used this opportunity to rid the continent of the pest and take over its territories, creating outposts and more, investing in the conquest of a completely new and fertile land filled with precious materials, rich soil to plant all sorts of crops, and even more. This faintly reminded me of the conquest of Amerasia in my original world. The continent where I lived, Euramica, had conquered Amerasia only 50 years before my birth. It was said that they had encountered many native humanoid species there, which were all slain as they were called barbaric. However, I was sure they were just people like us. Naturally, it was all because of greed. The nation of Euramica had conquered Amerasia and had slain its natives so there wouldn't be any opposing forces trying to stop them from taking over the entire land. Of course, some were spared from it but later enslaved. They were used as mere pawns for the conquerors, who began to extract all sorts of resources from their untouched mountains, rich forests, and beautifully vast grasslands. Unsurprisingly, the same concept was present in this world as well. The Galatia continents for major kingdoms had forced an alliance to completely conquer the demon kingdom and make them human territory, building up their outposts, and exterminating all the demons. Even the most innocent of children weren't spared, so there wouldn't be loose ends. My parents at that time had believed they would simply be taken in as prisoners of war, or the humans would rule over them and turn them into something like citizens of vassal nations. Sadly, the truth was harsher than their NAVE hopes. As they were swallowed by rage and sorrow over the death of their companions, they wanted to slay the demon generals and the demon king more than anything, prompting them to ignore most of what happened behind their backs. When everything ended and they realized what the humans had done, they felt disgust to the point of disbelief. They felt horrendous guilt and sorrow, to the point that they decided to isolate themselves, living far away from those monstrous and greedy people who only wanted to use them as an excuse for mass genocide. But was that all? Weren't there any demons left they could help? Anyone they could offer their hand to at least redeem themselves? I know they technically didn't do this, but even then, they felt guilty enough, right? So why? Why didn't we help the demons after that? I asked. Well, we didn't do it because we didn't want to. We cut ties with humans and anything happening in the demon continent. In short, we escaped from there. We simply didn't want to get involved with them any longer, my father answered. We're sorry to disappoint you, Sylphie. Maybe we should have done something else, Mother apologized with a light sigh. We simply wanted to live our own lives. But due to such a desire, we ended up becoming rather selfish. We had the power to change things, but we chose not to, due to the fear of going against the gods, Shade said. Yeah. Well, we did try once, but the gods sent oracles to us, telling us we shouldn't meddle with the affairs of the Church of Gods, Nephilim added. As dogs of the gods we decided to obey their orders and lived in isolation, where we could finally begin our lives and build our family. Since we were kids that lived as heroes, trained as heroes, and constantly fought life and death battles, we simply wanted to live as people now, as citizens. We envied the freedom of choice that the people we protected had. We decided to selfishly make new lives and... Well, you came to be not long after, Father said. If we hadn't taken such a selfish decision, you wouldn't have come to life, dear Sylph. However, we don't regret such a selfish decision as that. After all, you're our light, Mother continued. You're our treasure. Even if you were born after we took such a decision, we won't regret it, ever. I'm sorry that. I'm such a disappointment, Father said, his voice croaky. Shade and Nephilim said similar words to Aquarina, who seemed to be taken over by grief. I'm sorry, my little princess. Shade apologized. We did it because we wanted to have our own lives for once. But maybe it wasn't truly the right choice. Though, it was the one that also brought you to us. My beautiful little treasure, Nephilim said. They hugged Aquarina as she began to cry. On the other hand, I was embraced by my parents. What nonsense are you talking about? I'm not blaming you for anything. And I would never become disappointed at you. Why you're my mom and dad. I would never hate you after all the love you've given to me. I told the Sylphie, my father broke into tears as he began to hug me tightly. Sylph, my mother did the same. Why yeah, it's like Sylphie says. I won't judge you for what you did. I still love you, Mama. Papa, replied Aquarina, kissing her parents' cheeks. With that, we were suddenly embraced by our parents as a sorrowful yet mellow atmosphere was built. Knowing this tragedy made us feel the bitterness of war and the harshness of reality even more than our battle against hell. But not just that, it also reinforced our bonds with our parents. It didn't matter if they made the wrong decisions. After all, they weren't perfect. They're people. And nobody was born perfect. Then again, that's also what make people humans. I know they committed many mistakes, but I am just a near 5-year-old girl. I doubt I can even get through them or even dare lecture them. I was never good at talking anyways. I just want to live happily. We'll see what we can do in the future. Chapter 85. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 85. A decision. After that deep conversation, we decided to take it easy. Of course, now that I learned all of this, that didn't mean I would begin hating my parents and resent them for their mistakes and decisions. If I had been in the same situation as them, I would have also committed many mistakes. After all, I'm not a perfect person either. I'm filled with flaws everywhere. You could say I'm incredibly flawed, even. I suppose we're all flawed at the end. Then again, this world we live in was filled with tragedies, but there are also a lot of beautiful things in exchange. Perhaps all these flaws are what makes humans so unique by themselves. The very flaws of my parents were also what brought me to life, so it could be said that I'm the children of their bad decisions. But that's fine. We're a new generation now. Perhaps, as the new heroes, we could make things different. After hearing all of this, only a blazing flame began to grow inside of my heart, a blazing flame filled with conviction about a new future I want to build myself. Am I being too selfish by thinking that I could change the future? That I could even do something to change the entire world by myself? Yeah. A lot. Well, also being a bit delusional. And stupid. Ignorant, childish, and perhaps very egocentric. But I still want to try it out. I knew I had the power. I know I can grow even stronger and use this strength on something else than just slay the demons and get done with it. I want to help them this time around. If my parents couldn't do it, why can't I do it myself? I don't just want to do what they didn't do or solve the problems they left behind. I just wanted to do my own thing and help these people I pity, these people that were discriminated against and slaughtered unfairly by the greed of these people. Of this damn continent. Do I want to be a hero or something? Well, I was given the title of a future hero, so I don't know if I can even reject it. The power of the gods goes beyond my scope. But this doesn't mean I will be playing in the palm of their hands. Nonetheless, if I ever become a figure that others might refer as a hero, I will not simply protect humans. I want to really make a change in the future. If possible, I'll become the hero of demons, of beast-kin, of elves. I don't simply want to protect one race, I want to see if I can help anybody, not just based in their kin. Maybe if I was just a common farm girl with no talent or powers, I wouldn't even be having this thought, but based in this power I have, which could quite possibly change things in a bigger scope than I can even imagine. I don't think it's fair to simply lay low forever. Though, it fills me with insecurity and fear to think I would embark in such a long journey. Of course, I won't do it now, nor tomorrow, perhaps not even in many years. But I want to. At the very least, help the people that might need help with the strength I am slowly cultivating. I don't see any point in being strong only to oppress the weak. I only see it as something unfair because I was also weak and oppressed back then. I won't do the same thing that humans do. I will use this strength to go against the gods' plans. I won't become their puppet, nor would I throw the demons on the chopping board. There are many things I have yet to understand and learn about this world, many things I have yet to learn. I have a lot of things I want to actually comprehend, to see the other side of the spectrum. To see the point of perspective of those at the losing end. Is that bad? Am I insane to think that there could be a way for humans and demons to get along? Perhaps there are others with the same thoughts I have, but due to the fear of being chased, they haven't done much. After all, the entire continent of Galatia was filled with powerful humans everywhere. Opposing them was opposing an entire continent's worth of power. However, I want to see it. I will also travel across Galatia one day. I want to travel to all around the world and see everything for myself, to know people and to learn how they live. What do they do to survive, and see if I can use all this strength I have and might have in the future to do something for them. I'm not really a righteous heroine. I know. But I just want to see for myself if there are other things I could possibly do to help others. Perhaps this is the same selfish thought all heroes have at the beginning, but I'm not really a child anymore. Mentally speaking. I'm an adult at this point, and my considerations and thoughts have a deeper meaning than empty dreams without any base. I won't be rash, and I'll try to be more thoughtful of my actions. I'll slowly try to find clues, learn more, and ultimately, act accordingly after I finally learn the full picture. I will act accordingly after I learn the truth from both sides. I want to learn more about this beautiful world I was thrown into by accident. Of course, not only for me, but for them as well. While we were having dinner in silence, I spoke my mind out rashly, boldly, and rather childishly. I won't kill the demons. I blurted out all of a sudden. Sylph. All four of the former heroes looked at me with surprise. From the looks of it, they had the same question. What did I mean by this? Of course, I plan to fight against those that have ill will against me. After all, I am quite ruthless. If I'm given the chance, I will make sure that those that try to harm me have no chance to return in the future. Death would be the only thing that would await them. But to everyone else, I won't even land a hit. The demon race are not baddies, they're people. So, I won't kill those people. I won't kill the demons. Chapter 86. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 86. Resolve. My bold statement left my parents, Aquarina, and her parents, rather surprised. I'm pretty sure they didn't think I was thinking about this the whole time. They honestly believed I simply forgot or something, or I was trying to forget about this and move on. However, what they told me changed my perspective a bit. I wanted to change things a bit and do what they couldn't do themselves. Kill the demons, Father asked. Certainly, we hadn't thought about this entire thing through. You two are heroes, this means the demon king will soon emerge. In other words, Mother soon added. Another war, indeed. We thought that we would be left alone for now, but the attack the girls received half a month ago. The forces of the demons are trying to slay them before everything begins, Father murmured. But Sylph, you can't simply decide that. Despite all the things. The demons keep emerging and a new demon king will be born, given the task to kill the heroes. If you don't kill them, will you let yourself be killed? Shade asked. Aquarina looked at me worriedly after that. No. I won't. I will fight, of course. I will fight those that are not good enough of my companionship. As for the rest. All the demon people you speak about. What about them? I asked. So that's what you mean, Mother said. So, you've decided. You want to help the demons. Do you intend to speak with them and mingle with them one day? You do know how their societies are so different from ours, right? But even with that, you still want to, Father asked. I do. I don't want them to be massacred anymore. But for that, I need strength. Also, I want to do it to learn more. I will one day travel the world and learn more. And you can't stop me. Even after what happened against Hell. I still want to explore the world outside. I told them. I see. Well, we can't go against the dreams of our daughter. Father replied. You might change the world as we know it one day, Sylphie. Your abilities and the will you possess. I'm very proud of having such a daughter, Mother said soon after. But you're not doing it anytime soon. We aren't bad parents, you know, Father said all of a sudden. Indeed. We won't let you wander as a kid anywhere you want. You're going to grow stronger before our tutelage, to the point we'll be sure that you won't be in grave danger at every corner of the world." Mother agreed with father, adding those words. Oh. Of course. I wasn't going to go out by myself and do whatever I want. Yet, I clarified. Then again, what you want to do is not something that's new, my daughter, father told me. Oh. Is there someone else helping the demons? I asked. Indeed. Although we selfishly decided not to help them. There are others that did so. Our old companion, the one that survived with us, the hero of Grey Soul, is one of them. He's a strong dark magic wielder and necromancer, Mother told me. Ah. Maybe one day we could introduce him to you. There's actually a resistance or something like that, a group of humans and demons in the demon continent that are slowly fighting for the demons to regain part of their land against the Kingdom Alliance of Galadia that had completely taken over the demon continent. Those last remnants are fighting arduously. Surviving as much as they can with the help of our friend, father said. Of course, the sole thought of throwing my beloved daughter into such a hellhole is making me go crazy, but I know you're a stubborn little girl. At the very least, stay with us until you've grown strong enough to travel the world by yourself. All right, Mother said with a sigh. Sure. I will. Thank you. This isn't just an empty dream. It's something I really thought about. I want to know both perspectives, not just the demon continent. I want to explore Galadia. And the other continents, too, even the one where Mother comes from, I said. Oh. I see. The Atlantic continent. Perhaps we could one day go there. I planned on enlisting you into a magic academy there. After all, your talent as a sorcerer needs to be polished by many different magicians there. Only the two of us won't do, Mother said soon after. Oh. Traveling to another continent? I asked in excitement. But that's for the future. You're still too young to be able to enter. Plus we also have to prepare you well enough for it. Ah. This was supposed to be a surprise, but I guess we ended up spoiling it, Father said in response with a light chuckle. Apparently, my parents had planned for me to go to the Atlantic continent, the home of the elves. They planned to head there to meet my mother's family and also enlist myself into a magic academy with all sorts of amazing magicians. Even for me, this felt overwhelming. But I guess it's a given for me, as a kid, to go to an academy at some point and learn more about magic and this world. As my parents said, only them teaching me wouldn't be enough. I need to be taught by many different figures about the things I don't know. They want my entire talent as a sorcerer with SSS.grade talent to bloom, and for that, many mentors are required. I guess. I also want to go. I will stay with Sylphie. Anywhere. Aquarina said. Aquarina. Shade said in slight confusion. You too. But. Nephilim muttered. From the looks of it, they had different plans for her. But she was stubbornly waving her head. She didn't want to do what her parents planned for her and wanted to stick with me. I felt a bit responsible for this, but I didn't want her to diss her parents' plans for her like this. However, as much as I would have wanted to reject her, I couldn't go against those eyes filled with conviction. Chapter 87. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 87. The Gathering of the 12 Pantheons. The gods of the 12 Pantheons gathered after the incident that involved Sylph and Aquarina. The might of these gods was tremendous, their flashing divine auras emanated strong, elemental presences. They were truly gods in this sense as their power was commendable. The 12 Pantheons had gathered together for something very special and important. In fact, it was something that made the community of gods become chaotic. The knowledge about a certain god that had somehow betrayed them and had tried to kill the young heroes with the aid of a demon general was already well known by everyone present. Alongside the hundreds of smaller figures, the gods, there were the 12 great gods, who were enormous elemental titans flashing with powerful divinity. Their appearances were barely visible within their divine throne, but they were truly titans in size and power. These 12 titans were the chiefs of the 12 pantheons, each one represented an element or the aspect of one. Sometimes, combined elements were also present. Each titan's element was based on their own personalities and how they grew up and developed. They were all the children of the 4 original gods, said to have come from another place in the cosmos and had arrived in the world of Terrarium for mysterious motives. These 12 titans were varied in appearances and sizes, but they were all glorious beings that governed their pantheons and gave the heroes their titles, becoming their protectors and benefactors, blessing them with their divine protection. There were 6 goddesses and 6 gods among the 12 great gods. The goddesses were all glorious beauties while the gods were all muscular, beautiful men, all glowing with bright auras of power and elements. The 6 chief goddesses were beauties like nothing else there could be. Thea, the chief goddess of sight and heavenly light, sat down over her throne of light. There was a large eye-shaped statue behind her, which represented her all-seeing sight. Currently, she was accompanied by Fear and Aeolus. Rhea, the chief goddess of life and motherhood, gave off the feeling of grace. There was a certain beauty to her compared to the other sisters. She held the power of life and motherhood. With that, her entire body was covered in the bright light of life as plants and animals gathered around her naturally. Her long brown hair shone brightly while her eyes were emerald-green, shining like real jewels. Dryads and other creatures gathered around her. Themis, the chief goddess of law and order, was a slender and stoic beauty. Her pale white skin glistened with white light. Her eyes shone with white-gray light, while her hair was long and silvery white. She was the representation of law and order, holding a scale in her left hand and a blade in her right hand. She seemed serious, the most serious out of all the chief goddesses. Mnemosyne, the chief goddess of remembrance and memory, seemed like a calm and composed goddess. Her long and dark brown hair reached up to her shoulders as she wore special glasses that were, in fact, an artifact that could help her decipher special languages, books, and more. Her eyes were bright brown, almost almond in color. On top of that, her size was rather small compared to her siblings. She was rather cute-looking and seemed approachable compared to the others. Phoebe, the chief goddess of intellect and prophecy, was another calm beauty. However, her eyes were closed. She seemed to always be thinking deeply despite her calm demeanor. Her pointy ears made her look like an elf, with some myths saying that she created them alongside the help of other gods. Surprisingly, this was the reason why elves were so talented at magic and were so intelligent compared to other races. She had long blonde hair, and bright yellow eyes. Of course, her figure was slender and sexy. Tethys, the chief goddess of fresh water and nursery, was the last of the 6 goddesses, but was no less of a beauty herself. She was a secondary motherhood goddess after Rhea, representing fresh water and also the life within rivers, lakes, and ponds. She was the mother of the many ocean and freshwater fairies, alongside a few dozens of gods. Her motherly beauty was accompanied with a sweet and calming smile, a beautiful and sexy body with wide hips that had given birth to many, and a large chest, larger than all the other goddesses. She was the wife of Oceanus, whom he considered his most beautiful and precious treasure. "It's nice to meet all of you, my dear sisters. It has been a couple of hundreds of years since our last meeting," Thea said. "It's indeed nice to meet you, Thea. I'm sorry for what had happened to your chosen one. I hope she's in good care," said Rhea in response. "Ah. Sylph. I am very worried as well. Though, it seems this girl has a hidden power herself which let her survive even a demon general's assault. I am very grateful for this. I hope she can recover soon," Thea replied with a sigh. "It must have been hard for her. The demon generals are getting bolder these days. We can't possibly lower our guards now," Mnemosyne said with a sigh. "Indeed. We must be careful. Even I cannot see through this chaotic future ahead, murmured Phoebe. Oceanus was very worried as well. Aquarina almost died. Ah, he was also very grateful to your hero for what she did to protect her. I also thank you on his regard, Tethys said. Oh, dear. Do not worry about it. Sylph is a good girl, deserving of her title, replied Thea. The meeting is about to begin, stop talking so much. There's a far more important matter to discuss than your heroes, and that is what attacked them. There's clearly a traitor. An impostor among us. Or our servants, said Themis all of a sudden, making all the goddesses suddenly look at one another suspiciously. Chapter 88. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 88. The mysterious god. While there were the 6 goddesses, there was also the 6 gods. These gods were just as strong as them, and held authority over their own powerful elements. Oceanus, the chief god of oceans, an old man with a figure of muscle and presence. He was strong and seemed even stronger from the presence he emanated. His entire aura emanated the power of oceans and water, as his long white beard was accompanied by flashing and bright aquamarine eyes. Ceus, the chief god of conquest and leadership, sat down on his throne of glory and red light. He looked at his brothers with a smile of confidence and arrogance. He wasn't particularly graceful compared to the other gods, instead favoring war and conflict. His skin was red like fire, while his long brown beard extended up to his chest. He was bald and filled with scars. Crius, the chief god of constellations, glanced at his siblings with a calm demeanor. A nebula filled with stars shone brightly behind his tall and powerful figure. His body was in fact slimmer and more slender than his siblings, but he was tall just like the cosmos itself atop the heavens. He had no beard and seemed youthful, with long blonde hair and eyes that shone as if his pupils contained many stars in them. Hyperion, the chief god of heaven and the sun, a tall man with a strong figure. His entire body was covered in muscles, resembling the personification of might like nothing else has been. Atop his head was a massive sphere of plasma flashing with bright red light, emanating sunlight everywhere. He looked upon everyone with a smile. He was prideful, yet he was also friendly. His long red beard complemented the fiery eyes he had. Iapetus, the chief god of death and lifespan, a mysterious titan. He sat down calmly over his throne of darkness. He seemed unmoving and many would think he was a statue or something. He held a large scythe on his left hand, and was said to be the one that represented death and gave power to necromancers. He was also the one that's said to calculate the lifespan of every living being. Nobody could escape him according to hearsay. And then, there was Cronus, the chief god of time, the tallest of all siblings and the one with the highest authority of all 12. He was the titan of time and the one that represented the dread of all. Consuming time itself. He was the oldest among the titans. He was the tallest, most muscular, and most imposing of them all. An illusory aura of time emerged around his body, as if distorting space and time. He also had a short silvery white beard and long gray hair. Also, his eyes were gray, seemingly still. His expression was as serious as it can be. I am glad to have all of you gathered here, siblings, said Hyperion as he initiated the conversation. Hyperion, long time no see, Oceanus said in response. Indeed, it has been a long time, Oceanus. Ah, I am sorry for what happened. Your hero must have had it hard. Hyperion sighed. I hope she can recover quickly, Oceanus, Crius said to Oceanus after. I'm thankful for your concern, my brothers. But don't worry, she ended up with no wounds at all. Thea's hero protected her. I'm glad nothing happened to her, and now I feel indebted to that hero, Oceanus told them. To think you would get so soft that you would pick such a weak little girl, Oceanus. Even Thea's pick is stronger than her. I don't get why you picked a woman, when you could have chosen a strong sailor man instead or something. You just wasted potential with that kid that can't even defend herself. She's going to be the first to die when the war begins. Mark my words, brother. Right, Iapetus. Seest said all of a sudden. That I don't see through the hero's shadows of death. But if I look at it right now, I notice that there's no shadow behind her bigger than your own hero, brother, Iapetus said in response. Ah. Seest murmured after hearing that. She's weak because she's a child, foolish brother. When she grows up is when she'll bloom in both beauty and strength. Mark my words, Oceanus said, countering Seest's words. Well, whatever you say. Seest sighed after that. Stop talking nonsense for once. We're not here to compare who's stronger and who's weaker. We are here because there's clearly something happening not just within the demons, but among us, the gods, said Cronus, completely changing the topic. With that, the entire meeting finally began. The 4 creation gods were not present, however, as the job of maintaining the humans and the world was given to the 12 pantheons while the 4 original gods were doing something else, apparently. Cronus, as the leader of all the 12 titans, spoke first, talking to all his siblings with a strong and intense demeanor. His very presence emanated such a strong aura that anyone that was a simple mortal at his side would suddenly feel that they began to age rapidly, quickly turning into an old person and dying. That was his power. As you all know, we are all gathered here because of the peculiar case of a god that was said to collude with the demon general of death, Hell, who has finally been defeated by Hyperion's previous hero, Alan, with the help of the other surviving heroes, Cronus said. Indeed. That's what I got from his prayers. The kids are fine as well. Don't worry about this, added Hyperion. It was said that the god was able to manipulate space and time. Is this true, brother? Tethys asked. Yes, that's what I got from him. Hyperion replied with a nod. Anything else? Thea asked. It was said that this entity said that his goals were simply beyond the hero's comprehension. And that he wanted to get rid of them for a greater purpose, Hyperion continued. The gods fell silent as they contemplated what this could mean. We'll begin to look for clues regarding this mysterious god for now, but there are barely any trails left behind. Cronus said with a sigh. From the looks of it, he was growing restless. Demons were still something they could handle. But their own kin turning against them. Unpredictability began to emerge in everyone's futures. After all, not even the Titan of Time would be able to run away from such a problem. Chapter 89. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 89. Practicing swordsmanship with the mercenaries' insane regime. It has been a couple of weeks since the conversation about the demons and the declaration of my new resolve to my parents and Aquarina's family. Well, all in all, approximately a month has passed. Aquarina stayed with me for over a week, not really wanting to let go of me. But this last week, she finally went back home with her parents, and things have been mostly calm ever since then. I had resumed my training with my parents as magic and swordplay had become an everyday routine yet again. It took some time for me to get over the pain of my body when I moved, but now that I had finally recovered as a whole, I felt rather fine and well. I had mostly gotten used to the cramps I sometimes got, but aside from that, everything's good. I had been training my body every day to regain my form, well, as much as a 4-year-old body could remain healthy and strong, I guess. That day when my body was destroyed, with my mother quickly recovering it, I felt like all of the progress I made on my muscles had gone down the drain. I hadn't lost the power of the dragon meat and blood I had consumed and bathed in, but it had weakened. Perhaps it was because this essence went away when I died. Nevertheless, with magic and my training with Father, my physical strength had been raising slowly and steadily. However, it's still really hard. Even as a talented hero with blessings, I'm still a 4-year-old. I can't be as amazing as I was in my previous life. My body was small and slender back then, but I was really good at moving around and so on. In here, I feel like even with all my efforts, I'll probably just fall on my face if I try to do any of the techniques from my previous life. Also, because I'm a half-elf, I'm not developing as quickly as I should. In short, I'm still a midget, meaning my legs have yet to grow slenderer. Ugh. But even then, I still do all I can, and I still spar with father. He had become more aggressive with his approach. It seems I've ignited the spark in him as he's putting more pressure on my training. From the looks of it, he's doing it so I can grow to be as strong as he wants me to be. Now he's doing some hellish training to me, which made my mother argue with him a lot. This training was what his father had done to him when he was around 3 years of age. He had to do 1,000 swings with his sword every day, every morning, and he couldn't stop until he finished. He couldn't eat as well, nor go to the bathroom, anything that distracted him basically. It was very stressful training to him, but it forged his will and his character into the man he was now. Although he told me that he's like that, with me and Mom, he's always a softie. Maybe he has a weak spot for us that we can abuse, hee. Anyways, my father wanted to do this training to me as he saw I was very talented with the blade. After all, my movements were precise, strong, and fast to his eyes. However, Mother was opposed to the idea and called the training barbaric and that it wasn't something a child should do. Unfortunately for her, I actually wanted to do it. With that, I insisted to Mother that it was the best way to forge my strength. As a child, I was still growing up, so any damage to my muscles would heal quickly, even more so if I abused my magic to enhance my body through metabolism acceleration and then verdant light to heal my pained muscles. This way I can actually realistically do it, as well as do it way better and more easily than my father's first years. Since my mother realized it was impossible to dissuade me when I'm adamant on doing something, she gave up and let me do this training. My father had offered me a soft version, which was only 100 swings a day instead. In fact, he still felt that perhaps lowering it down a bit more would be better. He's really underestimating a girl. Does he think that because I'm a girl, I won't be able to go through his same training? Naturally, I showed him how wrong I was. After all, I had already been doing 1,000 swings every morning for a whole week now. The first time, it took me around 3 hours to finish, and even with magic to help, my muscles ached, specifically my shoulders and my back. I had to get into a very rigid posture after all. Though, as the days passed, my body got used to it incredibly quickly. It was to the point my father suggested me to increase the number of swings if it became too easy for me now. Well, it's an interesting training. He said that until he was 20, he had reached 20k swings per morning. He did them so fast he usually finished in half an hour. What the hell? Even at a swing per second, that doesn't make any sense. Half an hour was 1800 seconds, so he did 11 to 12 swings per second. What? He's so fast. My father is too strong. I can't possibly do that. I still take like 2 hours to finish 1,100 swings. Father really is a powerful warrior. Swinging my bronze sword for the last time, I took a rest on the grass while using a towel to clean the sweat on my forehead and neck. Phew. That should be 1,200. New record, I muttered as I sighed in relief. You're really a monster for a 4-year-old, said Ignatius, the egg, as he floated around me. Hearing that, I continued to rest over the grass. It was currently 8 a.m. I had woken up early this morning as I walked near Yggdra, my good Eden apple tree. After that, I swung my bronze blade, a small sword fit for my size, 1,200 times. It took me almost 2 hours this time around, but I had done it. I felt proud with myself. In exchange, my body hurt. It was really a pain. Ugh. Even with verdant light, my healing spell, and pain mitigation, a life-attribute spell, it was still not possible to take away all the exhaustion and muscle pain I felt. Chapter 90. You are listening at novelfull.audio. 90 new spells at the moment. I was resting on the grass. It was currently 8 a.m., I had woken up early this morning as I walked near Yggdra, my good-eaten apple tree. After that, I swung my bronze blade, a small sword fit for my size, 1,200 times. It took me almost 2 hours this time around, but I had done it. I felt proud with myself. Then again, my body hurt. It was really a pain. Ugh. Even with verdant light, my healing spell, and pain mitigation, a life attribute spell, it still wasn't possible to completely take away all this exhaustion and muscle pain I felt. Speaking of spells, I've been learning some more spells with Mother. After learning the basics of nature, my mother said that learning life spells was more useful early on, so I could heal myself better and enhance my little body a bit better. She also told me I could become a healer for Aquarina when the two of us went into adventures. Therefore, for the past few weeks, I had been learning both nature and life magic. However, my mother was only one person, so I can't really take multiple classes a day. After all, she also gets tired and has to cook and all that. Because of this, the necessity for another teacher had increased. In fact, the idea of heading to Atlanta, the continent where my mother's family was, had appeared once more within our daily conversations. If I can head there, many expert magicians of amazing talents can teach me what I need to know every day. Multiple times. I could have multiple teachers in those classes, and learn more efficiently as well. But my parents told me I was still too young. The Magic Academy where they wanted me to go only began accepting students at the age of 7. Well, sure, there had been special exceptions at 6, but not even the royal family had gotten earlier than that for some reason. I'm more than capable of learning at this age already. Mother told me the teachers were all important magicians for the entire elven nation, so they held high authority as court magicians and the like. The royal family respected their decisions a lot as many of them were taught by them and raised by them partially. Some even see them as parental figures to a slight extent. Because of this reason, I cannot easily ignore them and enter the academy at a young age. I guess. In any case, the life attribute magic spells I've been learning were not a lot because it became increasingly harder to learn spells that were above my tier of magic. I had to enhance my magic circle with runes and mana transfusion through meditation, but of course, that took time. Then again, thanks to my endless mana, I could optimize the process. Thanks to that, I've already reached the rank 3 of the tier 1 magic circle. With that, my magic runes had increased some more. In fact, I can conjure conventional spells quite easily now. Then again, the power of my skills remained supreme in terms of instant casting. Moving all that aside, I learned a lot of life attribute spells, such as muscle renewal, blood pump, 5 senses enhancement, regeneration enhancement, pain mitigation, and so on. After all, who needs skills when you can just use low-level spells? There are so many. And well, they're varied in usage but their power was low. However, that doesn't matter when you got a lot of mana. Even low-level spells become formidable with a lot of mana. Ember already has showed me that. As of late, I've been also trying to learn plant-enhancing spells to go with agriculture. I want to learn ways to enhance the growth of plants, so it's more efficient than just slowly nourishing them with agriculture. Perhaps something stronger. With that, I learned rapid plant growth, photosynthesis efficiency, and root growth, which were all spells that could enhance a plant's development. My mother knew a lot of the basic spells. If I think about it, she's like a living encyclopedia of spells. Now, I will also begin training my light magic leaving aside life and nature as I've learned all the tier 1 spells that were the most useful for me at the moment. I quickly stood up once I remembered that and began walking back home. Ignatius was pestering me as always, but the cute Naturia was also there with me. Why that you're ignoring me? I have come here to grace you with my appearance, and you just ignore me, he asked. Since he became an egg, he comes to visit me every day, summoning himself as some sort of spirit like how Naturia appears. If it wasn't clear enough, we've already formed a contract. I had already showed him to my parents, of course, without revealing that he was that one dragon father slain. My mother told me the egg had a lot of fire. Attribute mana to it, but it contained a certain thing to it that made him very unique as well, so he wasn't completely an elemental spirit. My father then mentioned that he could be another thing, a beast spirit. Beast spirits were a new concept to me, but apparently, aside from elemental spirits, there were spirits that represented beasts of nature. They wander around nature and were said to be created by the beast totems, which represented the beasts of nature. My mother told me this one could be a young lizard beast spirit. According to her, it was an egg, and because of that it would soon hatch into a tiny lizard. On the other hand, father told me it could be a salamander. Of course, it was more of a dragon spirit, but sure, let's go with salamander. Ignatius wanted to argue after hearing that, but he knew that if he revealed his true identity, things would turn awkward. With that, he contained himself, although he had already showed them that he could talk and that he was very arrogant. My mother offered me to use some kind of spirit spell on him, so he became more obedient, like spirit enslaving. But I told her it was fine. Naturally, my father also offered me to take him away from me if he was too annoying, that he could forcefully contract him. But I also told him it was fine. After evading these 2 arrows, Ignatius thanked me deeply. But for some reason, it seems he has completely forgot about that, acting all arrogant again.